So welcome to this series on orthographic projection. In this series, we're going to talk about drawing by hand. And then I am going to show you how to learn how to draw for anybody who thinks they can't. It's important that you know how to sketch, and by sketch I mean draw. A lot of people have the idea that sketching means just very rough scribbles, and that's not what we're talking about. When we use the term sketch, and I just want to define this now, sketch just means a drawing by hand, kind of quick, not a very long, lengthy drawing, but the idea is sketching is meant to help you understand or get ideas. It doesn't mean it's scribbles, and it doesn't mean it's sloppy. And I'll show you some examples, including every single sketch that Professor Cheng has put in your textbooks. Those are all sketches. Okay, so let's get started. If I can get to the slide. Okay. We call it the glass box because we put an object inside the box and then project that object onto the box and then unfold the box. And it gives us 6 views of that object. And what those views are the top, bottom, front, right side, and left side. Here it's showing you 3. It's showing you front, top, and right side because with this object, that is adequate information for someone to build, manufacture, create, construct the object. You don't have to do the front and the back. You don't have to do the top and the bottom in this case. You don't have to do the right side and the left side. In residential design, it gets much more complicated. We use this, right? This is the starting place for drawing. We do this, but we do it a little differently. All right, so the 6 views in this case, translated would be, so top could be the roof plan, which is literally looking straight down from space. The top can also be the floor plan. And the floor plan is a section through the building that is cut horizontally 4 feet off the ground. So if you were standing outside the building and you had a chainsaw and you drew a line that was 4 feet off the bottom from the ground, from the grass or the dirt around the building. You measure 4 feet up and drew a line all the way around, took a chainsaw and cut all the way around the outside and the wall inside and lifted off that top part and then looked down. That's the floor plan. So that's another top view. Front view, left view, right view, and back view. Those are our 4 elevations. And we do those for every building because unless the left side and the right side are identical, the front and the back almost never are. But we do those for every single building we design because in every case, almost every case, all of those are unique elevations that need to be given specific information in order for the contractor to build them. And then the bottom view is actually the foundation. If we were to be able to pick the house up and look at it from underneath, that is our foundation. Okay, so most of the time you're going to hear people say, don't do the bare minimum. Don't do the bare minimum necessary to get by. And that applies to pretty much everything in this program except when it comes to construction documents. When you start putting together your technical drawings, you are only going to provide the bare minimum information necessary for the contractor to build the building. And it's because additional information does not provide additional information. It just duplicates it, which means you waste resources. You gives you an opportunity to make mistakes, because if something changes in one place and you don't change it in the other, you now have conflicting information that could trigger a change order. So you're going to have to analyze your project and decide what you're putting on those pages in your technical documents. Are your drawings going to show what's needed? Your drawings are always going to show what's needed to build it and not anything further. And this is about efficiency. When we talk about the alphabet of lines, what we mean is that different lines in a drawing should have different line weights in order to communicate their hierarchy and be therefore easy to read. And in this case, you can see this is a diagram of the alphabet of lines, right? For instance, a dimension line is going to be 0.3 millimeters. So where that comes from is when delineation was manual, and architects drew with pens on linen or mylar or vellum. That's what we used to use. I actually started back when we were using mylar and vellum. That was the size of the pen point, and therefore the size of the line that it put down on the page. Now, what it does is it communicates to the printer when you're printing your documents. It communicates how thick that line should be, and that line is 0.3 millimeters thick. Okay, and so it goes through, and you can see when you're drawing each one of these lines, this is what they should be. And this gets established in the software. Once we start working with CAD, we're going to start applying this to our drawings. Because otherwise, without it, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a drawing where everything is the same thickness. You just use one pen throughout the drawing. It's very hard to read. This one's done right, and it makes it easier to read. And I don't know that I put an example in here. I don't think I did. The boldest lines should be border lines. They're the lines that outline an object that has been cut through. And in our case, we're cutting through the house, taking off the top and looking down on the floor plans. Therefore, our lines for our walls have been cut through. They should be the darkest lines on our page. And it's because they're considered the most important in the alphabet. And this is an example of what is considered important. So border lines are the darkest. Visible outlines, those are in your elevation, the outline around your house, like the overall outline, delineating the difference between the house and the background, the positive space and the negative space. The line around the positive space should then be there's debate that whether that's a border line or a visible line. When you're on your elevations, your windows are cutouts in that plane. Those are visible outlines. Dimensions, extensions, projection lines, those are lighter. And that is because we want them to be seen second. We want them to provide information, but that is not, while it is important information, it is not the thing that we want to stand out most. And again, this is just another example of what we discussed in the previous slide, showing example, saying what the precedence of lines is. And again, the visible feature objects are the darkest lines. We want those to stand off the page. And here's an example. This is Frank Lloyd Wright's drawing of falling water. The real name of the project was actually called the Kaufman House because he designed it for Mr. and Mrs. Kaufman. It's in Pennsylvania. And this is his drawing. And you can see in every case, right? So here's the border lines, right? He cut through. These are the things that are cut through. Those are the darkest lines on that page is everything that cut through. This is a section through the building. And this is another section. So those are the cut lines. They're showing that has been cut through. In this case, we're not cutting through anything, so the lines are not as bold. We're just using the visible lines. But you see there's an outline. The darkest line is around the outside of it keeps going around here. It's around the outside of the building. Okay, so that's the difference. And then the different features, they're next. Things that change planes, those are next, right? We have cutouts. Those are the same as the features that stand out. And you guys are going to learn a lot more about this when you get into using Envisioneer in next semester. This semester for sketching, you still want to use more than one pencil. I would recommend 3 at a minimum. One that's got a, and you can just use the same type of pencil and sharpen them differently. But use one for your or pens, and use them for your darker lines, your medium lines, and your light lines. And in this case, looking at this drawing, you can see the light. So say I had 3 pencils. The darkest would be the things that are cut through. The second would then be the outline and the openings. And then the third would be the details. I guess there would be a fourth here. He's got 4, because then there's the dimensions that are the fourth. And they're just different thicknesses. You can still buy pens and pencils that say the thickness of the pen on them in millimeters. Yeah, I have one right here, which you guys can't see, but it says extra fine tip. This is not extra fine. 0.7 millimeters. Well, I mean, it's not extra fine for an architect. That's actually a thick line. And it actually draws a 0.7 millimeter line. So you can still look on your pens and pencils for millimeters. And I've got another kit somewhere. But black markers. It's just this package of black markers. There's 7 of them. And I would encourage you all to invest in a packet of those kinds of pens or pencils. But, work with what you enjoy drawing with and what you're comfortable drawing with. Experiment, see. That drawing that I just showed you from Frank Lloyd Wright here has been turned into CAD. Someone put it into Revit or AutoCAD, or I'm not sure what software. Can't see. I can't zoom in to see. But you can see that's exactly what happened, right? The darker lines are the ones that have been cut through. The secondary lines are the outlines around the house and the openings through the windows. The third set of lines are the features. The fourth set of lines are we haven't talked about this. It was called poche or pattern. And then the 5th set of lines are, in terms of darkness, are the dimensions. Okay, I'm going to stop this video here because in the next one we change subjects.